assume you don't know, but you have to take a direction. Test, measure, optimize is really looping pattern that Lean Startup prescribes. And test just means you don't know. You're just going to accept the fact that you don't know. And so everything's a test. Everything's an experiment in some respect. And you measure and then you optimize. And hopefully we're optimizing towards the right direction. And sometimes those optimizations might be a full pivot.
Darren Lancaster, welcome to the Entrepreneur Next Door. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Please introduce yourself.
This is going to sound weird as a serial entrepreneur. I was originally a computer engineer and had a short lifetime in tech, and eventually started to realize that the real gifts were in building brands from scratch, launching them online through e-commerce channels, and then building them out to be multi-channel businesses. And so I've had a fair number of experiences with those prior to Go Sleeves. But married with 4 amazing kids and a crazy 2-year-old Siberian Husky dog. And if you don't find me slaving away on the computer, you find me on the ski slopes. That's the actual sport I'm decent at. I used to be a downhill ski racer in high school. So that's the passion.
We'll peel the rest of it as we speak. We'll talk about your other passion, basketball, and how you wind up with Go Sleep. I don't want to go through your entire background because I want to spend more time on picking your brain on entrepreneurship, diving into Go Sleeves and what makes it better and different. So if I ran into you when you were 16 and I asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Did you know?
By then I was starting to get connected into computers. So I'm somewhere between 16 and 18. I definitely would have said, I'm going to be working with computers and programming and things like that. And that really was the initial path that I went down, was more of a tech path. And then the entrepreneurial path grew out of the tech path. So that would have been definitely the answer you got at some point in there.
So your first, we'll call it tech gig with quotes because it was about gang chaining modems and creating high-speed internet back then, which was one adventure. And the next one had to do with reading glasses. Talk a little bit about that, because that's more of a tougher challenge from a consumer brand.
Tough, but also it's just so practical for folks who are on video here. I love this product from a demo perspective because it's so fun. So on the back of my phone here is a little case I have attached, or the product can be the case on protecting your phone as well. But the magic is inside of this case are a pair of reading glasses that are about as thin as a nickel. And so for people who need reading glasses, they're super flexible, non-breakable. Just open them up, throw them on your nose, and you've got reading glasses with you all the time. This company is called Thin-On. And believe it or not, I had never had reading glasses on my face when I helped co-found that business. Teddy Shalom, the inventor and entrepreneur, said, I think this product's ready to go. And I said, that's great. I don't know anything about reading glasses, but let's take a shot at it. And it's done very well. They are the single most widely sold single reading glasses brand in the US. That was a fun experience.
On LinkedIn, you describe yourself as a serial entrepreneur with the ability to quickly and cost effectively validate product and offer concepts in a global digital marketplace, followed by scaling up winners faster than competitors. And you have 6 tips that you published, 3 that I dug up with I liked even better, tips for entrepreneurs. So your 6 tips, bullet point. Don't do it on your own. Know your customers. Be open to killing it early. The most important thing you've learned, this is a great quote. You can't birth a baby and declare that she will be a doctor in 5 years. I thought that was brilliant. Even if you have unlimited funds, which is unlikely, using a spray and pray approach to growth is wasteful. Another brilliant statement. The 3 that I extracted that kind of resonate with me personally. Incrementally move forward. Fear is the enemy of progress. Get experts around you and don't go at it alone. Let's get into Go Sleeves. How did you come across that opportunity? And you've been doing this for a while, between the modem company, between the glasses. How many years are we talking about?
Almost 30 years. 28 years.
There you go. And you don't have a white beard like me. It's amazing. So 30 years of experience, and I know that you learn every day, but so you've taken those prior experiences. Now you're going into Really a much more challenging environment, which is ghostly.
In terms of the incremental part of it, lean startup, it defines the practice I've been living by for quite a long time, but very simple concept of it's very difficult to know what you don't know. And the best way to get to the answer is to assume you don't know, but you have to take a direction. Test, measure, optimize is really the looping pattern that lean startup prescribes. And test just means you don't know. You're just going to accept the fact that you don't know. And so everything's a test, everything's an experiment in some respect. And you measure and then you optimize. And hopefully, we're optimizing towards the right direction. And sometimes those optimizations might be a full pivot. This test just isn't it. You're fooling yourself to really believe that you do know. Everything's an experiment. I'm just going to keep iterating, test, measure, optimize until I get there. And that goes for even the entire company as well. Every company is an experiment by its very nature. Knowing when the company is just not going to perform, not going to get there, it's a tough one, but it's all about that optimization pattern. Yeah, I think that is one of the key things, along with the marketing, branding side. There's a lot there. I do want to throw one thing in there real quick, though, for entrepreneurs that don't consider themselves to be branding or marketing people. One very simple and almost Bible-like book to jump into is called Love Marks by Kevin Roberts. It's got a lot of pictures, so that's fun. And you really don't even need to go through the whole thing. Just get about a third or half of the way through it, and you'll get it. You'll get the philosophy, and then you'll be far more effective at working with people who really are good at branding and marketing to be part of that input process. But respecting the brand and the fact that you don't get to develop it, it really resides in the hearts of your customers is a very important thing to understand.
Yeah, and I think the emphasis on one of the quotes I read from you again, I'll read it again because it's so good. You don't get to control your brand. It has its own life in the hearts and minds of your customers.
Yeah.
So you can get the biggest genius from Saatchi and Saatchi or Ogilvy or whoever, hire them to do your marketing. That's not it. It's the real connection with your end customer. Are you making a difference? Are you impacting their lives? What problem are you solving? Which goes to the heart of, if successful products have solved a problem that has been gone unsolved, not that there are no alternate solutions, but they weren't satisfactory. Then you identify something that's differentiated, that's better and different, but works in a way that people were looking for. Let's talk about what ghost leaves are and the problem that you identified with your partner. Is it Roy, I think?
Roy Carello. Right?
Mm-hmm. Roy, the basketball player that kicks your ass on the court, whatever.
That's right.
What did you guys identify? And then we'll go.
I think it's nice to go back to the problem because we experienced it personally, and that really was the motivation. We'd been playing basketball together for probably close to 15 years by then. And you're right. Yeah, Roy's the legitimate player, and I'm just trying to prevent him from putting up 30 or 40 points. He's always the most talented guy on every court I've ever been on. Played college ball in the Philippines, a little bit of professional ball over there as well. But he in particular really started dealing with breakdowns, especially with his knees, and tried everything from compression sleeves to kinesiology tape to painkillers, NSAID, you name it, and was just experimenting with so much. And so Roy and I eventually, after years of playing each other, he joined me as part of Optics. And so we've been working together. And subsequent to that, I had an e-commerce digital marketing agency. He was part of that business. And so we have this team, we're working with different brands of all different sizes and contemplating, in the meantime, what should we be incubating with this engine? What's the problem you're solving? Whenever you have something that prevents you from doing what you want to do from an activity perspective, some of us are very driven by activity, not necessarily that we need to be competing, we may not, but the activity is what keeps us mentally, physically, and even socially happy, leading a good life. And whenever you can't do that, whenever there's downtime, some of us, and hopefully this resonates with a lot of people, get really pissed off. It sucks. It's not fun. So the starting point was there. Let's keep ourselves on the court. Let's keep ourselves in the game. Selfishly, we're trying to solve our own problem. Turns out there's a bunch of people out there in the world that have similar issues, arthritis and so on. You could do all the market segmentation and stats, and there's a good market there. But it took us years to realize Ghost Leaves was about being at the top of your game, whatever that is for you. So that can be one of the couple hundred NFL players that use our products, their top of their game looks completely different, trust me, than the top of my game, depending on what sport I do. And all that matters is whatever it is that you're trying to achieve for yourself, we're really trying to build the products and the solutions that keep you there. That's been the learning progression. There's a lot more to it than that. But what we invented was really a mashup of two things that already existed in the marketplace. One was kinesiology tape. If you've had an injury and you went through physical therapy, or you were maybe a high-end athlete and you had athletic trainers around you, they may have put kinesiology tape on your body, usually to help you recover from an injury. Or it's maybe you're coming back from an injury and we're trying to use it in a preventative way from that injury recurring. I'll speak more about kinesiology tape and what it does, but then the other solution is compression sleeves. So sleeves that you've seen on people's knees and elbows and so on, and has a fairly lightweight therapeutic benefit. Just, it's more psychosocial, feels like a nice warm hug to your knee. If your knee feels sore, needs some support, it's nice to feel that in the sleeve. But the kinesiology tape, the real benefit that's so compelling when you stretch kinesiology tape onto your skin, it's actually stretching the skin tissues and opening them up, creating space. So if you have pain, taking pressure off the pain receptors, you're actually experiencing less pain almost instantaneously. But it's also creating, like, the difference between tape and, say, compression sleeves is compression sleeves are just sliding across your skin, whereas the tape is dragging it. Doesn't sound comfortable, but that dragging is really opening up space in the tissues and opening up the capillaries and the lymphatic drainage system. So now your blood flow and your capillaries go from like a 1 to a 4-lane highway. Your lymphatic drainage system goes from a 1 to a 4-lane highway. Now it's helping the body flush out toxins, inflammation, waste, fatigue much faster. So that's a really cool benefit to kinesiology tape, but it's not really being used that way very much because you need to know how to tape yourself up. So you're getting taped up by a trainer, you're getting taped up by a physician, and it's pretty hard to use. If you're on the video here inside of our sleeves, if I turn over this is a knee sleeve, flip it inside out, this compression sleeve on the inside is this glistening surface. It's medical grade silicone that's been applied to the sleeve. And just like kinesiology tape now, when you pull the sleeve on, that silicone is stretching, going on the skin and creating adhesion with the skin and creating that same skin drag that the kinesiology tape does. But you don't have to tape yourself up. You just pull the sleeve on. You have the right pattern targeting all the key muscles, ligaments, and tendons in and around the knee, and off you go. And I'll stop there for a minute, but I just would say that technology and that starting point was cool for maybe a year or two. And it took us the better part of 2 or 3 years really to understand what the baby was meant to be when it grows up. If you put a gun to my head back in 2019, when we came up with the idea that we would be here where we are, working with all types of high-end athletes, all the way to just my 86-year-old mom trying to get to the end of the street without pain, that multitude of people and solving problems for them, I wouldn't have known that to be the case in 2019.
So let's separate your ideal user maybe into 3 categories. About the superstar athletes, the NFL players, basketball players. Yes, they're constantly on the move, they get injured. That's one group. We'll look at amateur, intramural people who just like to be fit and hurt themselves. And then you've got maybe the third group of people that are not quite aware of what they're doing to themselves, what the options are. They just suffer. They take the Advils and they keep going because they're not aware of what's out there. But in the group in the middle, people like me who like to stay very active and play pickleball 4 to 5 times a week. Full disclosure, I have torn meniscus in my left knee. I suffer from back pain, some elbow issues. I'm beat up. And like many people out there, like you described, you guys are playing basketball and you're feeling the age creeping up. I'm the guy that feels the same way, now playing basketball. And so what do? I don't want to take Advils 5 times a day. So yeah, I've tried compression sleeves. And I researched them because I'm like a geek. And for the most part, I think it's mentally makes you feel that somebody's holding the stuff for you. And you correct me if I'm wrong. But kinesiology tapes, which a friend of mine who's a therapist introduced me to, I got so frustrated trying to figure this out that I just stopped using it. Now we're talking about scientific evidence that It's a device that works with your body's own natural way of battling pain and helping your body recover. Is that a good statement?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so that's what got me excited about Go Sleeve. True, full disclosure, I bought them, I used them, I tested them for a couple of months, got super excited, and found my way to find the guy that came up with it and get him on my podcast. So I guess we want to define again for people, what problem are we solving, Darren? Because the solutions are out there. It's the first device that actually combines the science of pain management with the way your body, just of helping your body heal. Is that the best way to identify your solution?
Yeah, really, it's what's unique about our approach is we're taking scientifically proven technology. We're also adding on our own performance measurements. And it's really a combination of scientifically proven approach with also a bit of an educational approach, right? Your own journey, for example, I think started, my guess is, Zev, with man, there's just days where I get out there and I play, or I can't get out there and play. But if I do get out there and play, I'm more sore, I'm in more pain than I want to be. My body's just not up to it. And so the journey that people go on to discover this space, it starts with breakdowns, trying everything and not having a whole lot of success denting that. Because as you said, compression has this central nervous system hugging effect to it that the skin science does say there's a little bit of a benefit there. But in comparison, the stretching of the skin and the activation of the neural receptors in the skin really creates more of this central nervous system triggering. It's called proprioception. Really, that's what's behind kinesiology tape, and it does have more of that positive central nervous system impact. So you start getting into this feeling of noticing with Go Sleeves that the recovery from all of the activity is much faster. And you're able to come back feeling fresher and not so much inflammation, tightness, and fatigue every day. And then over time, you start to learn, wow, if I wear the calf sleeves while I'm playing, I actually have more energy. I have less tightness, right? And the performance measurements we've put behind that show that indeed the difference between not being in Go Sleeves versus being in Go Sleeves is measurable in terms of bounce, risk of fall. There's two dimensions: recovery in one bucket, one lane, training and playing in another bucket. We have one body and it all matters. But when we talk about the recovery bucket, what you were saying about experiencing, I experienced the soreness, the tightness, the fatigue, maybe inflammation. You might visibly see it afterwards. But generally, in speaking, the genesis of all of that is inflammation. So the body's response to that stress you've put it under is going to be to generate inflammation. That's going to happen more and more as you calm the body down. And then we have this other aspect that kicks in. It's called DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. So the inflammation sets in, triggers DOMS, and you start to feel tight and sore. And so our goal is to try to intercept that as quickly as possible and back down the inflammatory response as quickly as possible. So that's why we recommend as a protocol, shower, get the K-Recover cream we've developed massaged in really deeply as quickly as possible. It's got an anti-inflammatory agent in there called arnica, and they get the sleeves on for a minimum of a couple hours. We're trying to downgrade that inflammatory response because inflammation is what prevents recovery, whether it's injury recovery or it's just recovery from activity. The presence of soreness is the sign that inflammation is present. You just may not be able to see it. Then there's recovering from injuries and being able to measure the difference between if you can accelerate on a day-to-day basis. We had a 17-year-old female soccer player who just won the national championship with the University of North Carolina as a starting center back at 17 years old. Meniscus tear, had a surgery this summer, was very diligent about her recovery practice with the sleeves and the cream. And 1 month later was on campus at North Carolina and fully cleared by her athletic trainer. Really no signs of anything that would hold her back from that surgery that was 1 month prior. So we are doing some, to your point, of unbiased clinical studies. We've got some of those kicking off now in conjunction with a couple doctors that we work with that are testing the Go Sleeves efficacy in post-surgery type of scenarios, whether it's knee scopes or surgeries, to validate what we've seen, which is an acceleration of the recovery process versus no sleeves or versus compression.
I've never seen anyone on the pickleball court without a sleeve on their elbow, braces on their legs, calf stuff. So many people are wearing something. So here's a question, Darren, and we'll put the disclaimer, Darren's not a doctor. Does the Go sleeve aid in preventing injury also? Or is it just facilitating recovery?
It's a very simple equation. So if you have imbalance in your lower body, then absolutely that imbalance in studies has been tied into a higher risk of injury. Definitely, we have this kinematic sequence. And so the calf, the Achilles, the IT band, the hips, the lower back, this is all tied together. It all cascades. Inflammation, tightness, fatigue, instability, anywhere in that kinematic chain can impact anywhere else in that kinematic chain. And so you may have lower leg instability or imbalance that may become lower back challenges, right? It's just that linkage, really, that instability, fatigue, imbalance leads to a higher injury rate is there. Like that's been studied considerably. And I think the challenge in pickleball, to your point, people coming into pickleball, especially new, they fall in love with the sport so quickly, and the biomechanics of the body aren't quite ready for the nuances of pickleball, which are all of a sudden you're on the front of your feet a lot. And the more you're on the front of those feet, you start putting that pressure on the Achilles and the calf. So you start getting that tightness in the back of the leg. And I'm sure you've seen it many times. There's a lot of people suffering early on in their pickleball career with plantar fasciitis type of issues. Can also lead to knee issues. Like I said, it might not, the knee might be fine, but it's that sort of tightness that can build on the back of the leg that might lead to the knee issue. So we want to obsess over the knee, but it might not really be a knee issue. And so when you start getting to a therapist that really can track these things down, they start to really figure out the source of the problem instead of the problem itself. Our way of describing the way of thinking about this, we call it biokinetic health, similar to dental hygiene, where every single day we're brushing and flossing, it's preventative. What are we doing for our bodies every single day that's preventative, right? And I think there's a lot of great things out there like percussion massagers, there's compression boots, all kinds of contraptions. You have to stop and do things to take advantage of them. The beauty of the sleeves and the technology we built is pull them on and leverage them for recovery. Do your hygiene, but don't be slowed down. Keep playing, keep being active. Do what you got to do. If you're done playing pickleball in your home, recovering and making dinner, do that. But you don't have to be strapped to a couch trying to deal with recovery protocols.
I gave the sleeve to a friend of mine who was out for 8 months with an elbow injury. And the thing about pickleball, because it's so addicting, when your entire life becomes socially and fitness-wise pickleball and you get taken out of it because of an injury, people really go into depression because of it. So I said, buy the sleeves. So he's a doctor. And he said, I just played 4 hours. I haven't felt anything. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Keep
That's
it on. So
wonderful to hear.
To other people that are watching this, it could be anecdotal, but for me, he has no reason to tell me he feels great. To bring us back full circle, as somebody who's been in entrepreneurship for 30 years, what surprised you or shocked you with Go Sleeves? Was there something you learned about this venture that's different than the past ones? Words of wisdom for anybody in the entrepreneurship world.
Yeah, we had our best plans and our best ideas for how the baby was going to grow up when it was birthed. And if you held me to those plans, you're going to see we're coming out with a rebrand and a much bigger umbrella that gives this a lot more room to grow. Why? Because the 5-year-old grew up and it took a completely different direction than we really ever imagined. And I think the key is that we didn't try to fool ourselves to think that we were smart enough to know what the baby was going to be when it grew up. And that can be good, bad, or ugly. In this case, it's great. Thankfully, the umbrella, the space, both in terms of products, in terms of mission, in terms of what the opportunity space is out in the market, it's much bigger than what we thought when we started. So you got to look at the totality of the opportunity. Gosh, for us, it's just been the learning curve. I'll give you another example of the test, measure, optimize pattern. If you put a gun to my head and said, when we launched, what would you price these knee sleeves at? And I would have looked at the competitive marketplace and said, we don't want to be down in the commoditized mosh pit of 30, $40, but we probably, we're new. So I don't know if we could come in at $100 price point be premium? My answer at the time would have been 49.95, like $50. But instead, we price tested it online and just completely unbiased, drove traffic. And over the course of 2 or 3 months, we got to the answer. And we tested everything from 49.95 up to, I think 109 or everything in between. And the answer became 89.95. Now, imagine if we didn't run the test. Imagine if we thought we were smart enough to know what the price should be. Imagine what the difference would be in terms of the trajectory of this business, the potential for margins, the potential to offer discounts, the potential to work with partners. It's a game changer. Yeah, I really think that's the advice. The biggest surprise for me is the opportunity space. I've just never been involved in something like this that has such a unique, like every person's situation and body is different. And it's been so rewarding to be able to talk to many different NFL players about their specific situation, give them fairly specific advice and outcomes where they're happy, they're thankful, they're successful in the same way that you're describing some of us as just weekend warriors out there playing pickleball, and success being out there playing and not in pain. So the pervasiveness of it, the audience and the scenarios that we cover. And so we started working with top end athletes and understanding different, like the recovery side of it, for example. We just didn't know what we had. That's really been the biggest surprise. I thought we would be far more niche-y and quote lifestyle company than really where I think this is headed.
What do you think is your biggest challenge that you have to overcome to take it to the next level?
So far, it's been when you see a sleeve in this form factor mentally, right? Because just this is a $4 billion market, is the compression sleeve business, whereas kinesiology tape is super niche. And so with kinesiology tape, there's this, I don't know what it is because it's not even $1 billion market. So a lot of people, I'm not sure what that is. And then on the compression sleeve side of things, I know what that is. And that means you're broken. It means it's like a crutch, right? This is something that's going to help you because you're challenged with something. And what we've built is a technology that's meant to be used every day in a proactive way, not in a rehab. Yes, it's a good Band-Aid, but it's more a preventative way of just thinking about your body and listening to your body. Is it sore? Is it tight? Is there inflammation? Am I moving okay? Listening and taking care and investing in your body each and every day. So that kind of educational pattern is really being the biggest thing.
Yeah, interesting. As you were talking and you were holding the sleeve up, I think one of your challenges, not to the professional market, but to we'll call them the warriors. But I think there's more non-warriors. I would consider my warrior because of the number of days I play and the level of play. But there are a lot of people that just play recreationally because it's fun, but they're all still hurting for sure. When I go to a chiro or a PT, they love pickleball. It is the best thing that ever happened in their profession, from the orthopedic guys to pain management, everybody else. So when you're holding up the sleeve, and again, as a marketing guy, to me, the biggest challenge is what it looks like. I'll mention their name, not in a bad way, just because it looks like the copper thing. And I forgot the guy they use in the commercials.
Brett Favre, Jerry Rice.
Yeah, we're human beings. We're stupid. We see that Brett Favre is wearing it and I'm going to be like Brett Favre. It doesn't work that way. But they have deeper pockets than you. So when I see two side by side, mentally, you still have to, the battle is, no, it's not a compression sleeve.
Here's the ironies of they're great for us. So I know that's going to sound weird, but you see the infomercials, I don't know, not so much anymore, but for years, the Copper Fit and other brand infomercials with the deep pockets were out there in a big way. And people became aware of the idea of a compression sleeve, and they used it and they tried it. And it's great because you're old enough to remember the Pepsi taste test. If you do a Pepsi taste test and if you couldn't see one knee versus the other and you had one product on one knee and the other on another, you're going to prefer the Go sleeve by a long shot. So if you've had any experience, what's good for us is if you've had any experience with either kinesiology tape or compression sleeves, then the experience that you have with a Go sleeve is immediate. Like the sort of correlation for you is immediate. And if you've reached out to use a product like that, it means you're looking for something. And to your point, like those are the masses that we certainly speak to. It's that I'm trying to stay active. I love pickleball and whatever it takes, I'm going to keep trying. And to the degree that someone has tried a lot and is frustrated and then runs into us, that's the best thing that can happen to us. Yeah, in many regards, I don't look at competition as competition, if that makes sense. It's more, this might be sounding egotistical, but they feel like a funnel for us than competition.
Before I hit record, I told you I'm going to try and keep it to 35 minutes. I had a suspicion it wouldn't work because there's so much I could talk to you about. We could launch another hour about marketing, but this was amazing. There was a lot to learn for entrepreneurs. You don't know what you don't know, even if you think you do. Surround yourself with people who do, and then remember that when you birth the baby, it's unlikely that whatever dream you have for that kid 5 years from now are actually going to happen. Walk slow and test and validate, right? Darren,
Absolutely.
it's been awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, appreciate what you're building here, Zev, and the knowledge you're bringing out to the community, because I wish these podcasts existed before I cut my teeth as an entrepreneur.
Darren, be good. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
Take care.